Lamont Marcell Jacobs just ran the third fastest 100-meter time in human history. Only Usain Bolt has ever gone faster. Not Tyson Gay, not anyone else who has ever lived. A 9.67-second run in Eisenstadt, Austria put him ahead of a mark that had stood for 18 years. Here's the real story behind that number, and why Birmingham could change everything again. Jacobs is the man Italy fell in love with in 2021. He won Olympic gold in the 100 meters at the Tokyo Games, becoming only the second athlete in history who was not from the United States or Jamaica to win both the individual 100 meters and the 4x100-meter relay at the same Olympics. That one made him a national hero. He backed it up with European 100-meter titles in Munich 2022 and again in Rome 2024. Fans loved him because he was proof that speed could come from anywhere, not just the usual powerhouse nations. Then things got hard. After Tokyo, Jacobs battled injury after injury. He moved to Florida to train with a new coach, hoping a change of scenery would bring back his best form. Instead, his time slipped. In 2025, he raced outdoors only 5 times, with a season best of 10.14 seconds, far from the runner who once shocked the world. At the Paris Olympics, the moment that was supposed to be his redemption, he finished 5th. No medal, no defense of his title. Just a quiet exit from the biggest stage in the sport. But 2026 changed the story completely. In January, Jacobs made the decision fans had been asking for since his form started slipping. He reunited with the exact coach who had stood beside him in Tokyo when he won gold. That coach had visited him in the United States 4 times in just 3 months before Jacobs finally decided to come home. He left Florida, moved back to Rome, and based himself near the city's Olympic Training Center. He also brought in a new physiotherapist to work alongside his longtime one. The results came fast. At the Rome Diamond League, Jacobs broke 10 seconds for the first time since his Tokyo final, running 9.99. Then in Paris, he ran 9.96, finishing 3rd behind Trayvon Bromell and Noah Lyles, 2 of the most feared sprinters on the planet. 2 races, 2 clear signs the old Jacobs was coming back. But nobody expected what happened next. The meet was in Eisenstadt, Austria, not a Diamond League event, the kind of meeting that normally gets one line in a results database. But the field was stacked. A British bronze medalist from Rome 2024 was in the best form of his career. Wade van Niekerk, the 400-meter world record holder from South Africa, was testing his speed in the flat sprint, something he rarely does. Yoshihide Kiryu, the first Japanese sprinter ever to break 10 seconds, was also in the field, still chasing fast times nearly a decade later. In the heat, Jacobs ran 9.84 and won by nearly half a second, a gap that almost never happens at this level. It was a warning shot to everyone else in the building. But the final is where the real story happened. Out of the blocks, Jacobs was slow, not disastrous, but slow enough that his rivals immediately had the advantage. For the first 60 meters, this race did not belong to Jacobs at all. For a moment, it looked like he might lose the biggest race of his comeback season. Then, over the final 20 to 30 meters, Jacobs found a gear nobody else in that field had. While the others were holding on, fighting to keep what they'd built, Jacobs was still accelerating. He closed the gap with every stride, then erased it completely. By the finish line, he had passed everyone and won by almost a full meter, a margin that's nearly unheard of in a race usually decided by hundredths of a second. The clock read 9.67. The wind reading was plus 4.1 meters per second, more than double the legal limit of 2.0, which means this run will never enter the official record books. But strip that detail away, because what Jacobs just did puts him in territory only one man in history has ever reached. Bolt's 9.58 in Berlin, 2009, is still the fastest 100 meters ever run under any conditions. His 9.63 from London 2012 sits second. Jacobs' run in Eisenstadt now sits 3rd, the fastest time ever recorded by any human being other than Bolt himself. That makes him officially the 2nd fastest man alive, a title that had belonged to Tyson Gay for 18 years, ever since his 9.68 at the 2008 U.S. Olympic trials, run, remarkably, under that exact same plus 4.1 wind. Now, Every rival heading into the European Championships in Birmingham this August has to deal with a version of Jacobs nobody expected to see again this soon. He's chasing something no sprinter has done since 1994, a third consecutive European 100-meter title. He won't have an easy path, but the win that kept 9.67 out of the books couldn't stop it from reminding the entire sport exactly what he's capable of. Now, a different kind of shock. Quincy Wilson just ran a time that made the track world stop scrolling. 17 years old, still in high school, and he clocked 44.10 seconds in the 400 meters, a number that doesn't belong in a high school race. This happened at the Ed Murphy Classic in Memphis, lining up right next to the reigning Olympic 400-meter champion. Most teenagers would feel the weight of that moment before the gun even fired. Wilson didn't blink. Earlier that season his form had looked shaky, a modest season best, then a loss to a fellow high schooler. Fans wondered if the hype had hit a wall. His coach kept repeating one message: trust the work. Then Memphis happened. Wilson exploded off the blocks, erased the stagger on an Olympic gold medalist by the first turn, and stayed smooth through the backstretch despite a brutal pace. In the final 50 meters, where most 400-meter runners are just fighting to survive, he found another gear and pulled away, crossing the line 0.3 of a second clear of the field. That 44.10 made him the fourth fastest man in the world that year, not fourth among teenagers, fourth on the planet. It tied the personal best of an Olympic silver medalist. He now owns 6 of the 10 fastest 400-meter times ever run by an athlete under 18. On the all-time under 20 list, only one name sits above him: Steve Lewis, who ran 43.87 to win Olympic gold in 1988 at age 19, a record that's survived nearly 4 decades. Wilson is now just 0.2 of a second away from touching it, and he hasn't even started college. This is a kid who was already an Olympic gold medalist before any of this. At 16, he became the youngest male track and field athlete in U.S. history to make an Olympic team, running the opening relay leg in Paris, while Team USA carried it home to gold. His family had relocated states away years earlier, just so he could train under the right coach. What comes next is where it gets dangerous for the rest of the field. A top 3 finish at the U.S. Championships punches his ticket to the World Championships as a senior-level competitor, still in high school, lining up against grown professionals who've trained full-time for years while he's doing this between class periods. His coach deliberately kept his schedule light early in the season so he'd peak exactly when it mattered, and it worked. The road ahead points to the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, where Wilson will be 21 and racing on home soil, right in his physical prime. Everyone saw the gold medal. Everyone saw the record times. But what really explains all of it is the family that gave everything up, the loss he turned into fuel, and the discipline of a kid who is quietly rewriting what's possible for a teenager on a track.